This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so today is Thursday, January 14th, and as always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So overall this morning, I'm not really that behind most of what I'm seeing. I mean, we have a pretty decently long list. I'm not really that sold. And SPC is probably one of the best ones that we do have so far. So obviously coming into this 32 level, we can see we have some selling prints that came in right before it. We had the ask at 32, which tells us that we do have the ability to be able to get to this 32.50 and be able to break it. But the follow through afterwards just pretty pathetic. So there's a couple possibilities that I see here. Is one is without really much of a pullback, so pretty much almost where it is right now. We see this thing come back in the pre-market and test that 32.50 before end up pulling back and actually getting that pullback from that 32 level. And the second possibility is with the selling that we see coming back in, it's still kind of a decent percentage for this thing to be able to pull back towards this 31.50 because it never really did before when it came up the second time. And then look for that trigger. Either way, we have those prints at 32, which tell us that 32.50 has no problems whatsoever. I mean, this is way out of print personality for what we've seen this morning, and one of the best controlling prints that we've seen out there this morning. So overall, because 32.50 is there, it's kind of uh, the percentages are kind of close for both of them. But obviously, the easiest way to see that is let's watch what it does, and whichever one it comes, either way, 32.50. Not only should we be able to get back here based off these 32 prints, but we should also be able to break it. I mean, we're talking about based off the range that we see in there, the amount of prints here, especially coming over into that 32.08 afterwards, shows us that we should have more than 50 cents coming towards that upside. Next thing, GME. Now, I know, unfortunately, most of us probably don't have shares of this unless you're on a different platform, and probably for good reason. I mean, this is just, I feel like it's a last-ditch effort. I'm not even going to get into what my opinions on the actual swing trade itself are, but let's talk about what we actually see this morning. And the answer is not really that much. I mean, we've had some ask prints that have came in. We've had some bid prints that have came in. We really just haven't got a real definitive, this is exactly what needs to happen. Closed at 31.40 yesterday, obviously, where 40 is way, 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 way higher. It got rejected immediately for the first time that was coming back up. And then even coming back towards this upside, even in this swing that we see coming towards there, I just haven't seen enough. There's just not enough really within the prints that I've seen to tell us either way which way it's going to go, because you have 2.8 million shares. So that tells me that there should be somebody that's showing their face and showing their hand coming into the year. And I still have not seen it yet. So overall, it's got all the potential in the world. Unfortunately, can't go short, which really does limit things. But we need to see some better prints, some type of controlling print. So this is what I was talking about with my list this morning. Is there's a lot of stuff that looks good, but just the substance behind it, I don't have a definitive. This is what needs to happen. And obviously, especially coming into the open of the market, we're going to be able to find one. So there's no reason to try to force it, and just acknowledging the fact that it just really isn't there yet. Next thing, DPW. So obviously this one looks really nice. It looks set up, locked and loaded, ready to go. We have this little, pennant / staircase that's coming into it. 650, again, it was just a bit weak. It's not going to let me go all the way back, obviously, but coming into that 650 level, it wasn't what I wanted to see. It wasn't something that shows me, okay, at least they're acquiring within this consolidation, rather than kind of just setting up and distributing shares for this thing to end up falling down. Again, it's got all the potential in the world, but I don't have the prints. There's just not the substance behind it that I can really get behind that says that this stock needs to get back up to this double top. Obviously, when I say double top, I'm looking for prints that are going to come in to show us that we're going to be able to break it. Because if we look over here on that measured move, let's just call it 40 to 60, you're talking about 60 cents to the upside, which really would bring us to about 725-ish, somewhere in that area. But like I said, I don't see the prints within it. So the setup is nice. We need the substance to come in to really tell us that this thing is going to be able to move. Now we know what it needs to look like. I mean, it's very simple. We talked about this in our Traders Exchange. It's gonna have to get a bar that comes up and breaks out from here. And like I said, the buying just isn't really there yet. So a great setup, has all the potential in the world, but we just need the prints to come in. Next thing looking at is NK. So NK is another one where if we look at the bigger prints that came in today, since this, early this morning, it really is kind of a bit mixed at 20. Now, once we came back up above that 20 level, we can see that for the most part, it was selling, but then we came right back down and there was more buying that came in. It's another one where it's got a lot of potential. On average, only moves $1.19, yesterday 236, but you can see yesterday 236 on really not average. So, having 742,000 shares being traded already this morning, I definitely have a lot more confidence that it's going to actually start trading once the market opens. But again, it's just the prints aren't there. I mean, the range is there. How smooth it's been trading, even with no volume, is there. I need something definitive out there, and I haven't found it yet. Next thing looking at is Cnet. It's funny because usually when I write my list, I start off my morning and everything on the left side is things that I have a game plan for, and everything is on the right side is things that I don't really have a game plan for. And if you look at my list this morning, it all started on the right-hand side, which really means I don't have a game plan. And then I had to finish my list on the right-hand side of that. So I don't really have those, like I said, those definitive game plans. And this is just, knowing this going into the morning is going to force me to definitely be a lot more patient and make sure that I see something that really comes out definitive. Now, here we go again in Cnet. Cnet, absolutely beautiful chart. I mean, you can see we jumped up. We're holding in consolidation very well. So we're really not in money time. We're in building time, which when coming into the open of a market, it's typically a better thing because of the fact that it almost gives us that catalyst to become money time. But look at these prints at 3. I mean, it's just not what I want at all. I mean, there's definitely buying that's coming into it, but it's just not that. It doesn't fit perfectly. It doesn't fit the rules perfectly. So everything that I'm seeing this morning, it kind of looks good, but it doesn't have that substance. And without substance, there are no trades. Without controlling prints, there are no trades. And I can't even look for supporting actors if I can't get the controlling prints. And that's really where I am this morning. And I just want to really make that known because that's where we are right now. And it's just coming back, usually like I can find something that I'm interested in and I just don't have it yet. So obviously within a stock like this, we would be looking for it to break out, same type of deal, in an elongated Bennett, and to be able to break out. I just don't have the prints there yet, but it is something that is worth watching. Next thing, NNDM. So another one where yes, is over 10. Is there a lot of buying that's been coming into this? There absolutely has. But there hasn't been that buying that shows I control this stock. And that's who I want to find. Again, there's definitely buying, but then we're coming up to 1050. We see a lot of selling. We have a lot of congestion that's coming over here. One thing that I do want to point out is yesterday, the volume, it was almost double. And the range was almost double. I just kind of expected a lot more out of it. So I have a feeling that there is a lot more range that could come out of this stock today, but it just needs to show us prints. I mean, come to 1050, give me, a plethora of above the print personality prints, pull back and give me something to follow the rules. And I just, at this point, just unfortunately, it is not there yet. But like I said, over 10, there definitely is buying. So I like that, but I need something to really, like I said, really give me that this is what's going to end up happening. IMAC was a lot better before we got that push up. We do have some really nice aspirants here at 250. This is going to be more of a sideless stock because if we break past where our trigger started, then we're pretty much we're going to call it quits. But as we did pop back up, we did have some really nice aspirants above print personality at 250. So technically, in the rule book, we have to assume that this is pulling back to then look for that trigger back up to that 250 point. Again, though, it just needs to give something more. I mean, it's just everything. It just doesn't really have what we're looking for coming into it yet. Right here, you can see these 250 prints. Again, there's 250 prints, but is it enough for such a cheap stock? It was parabolic when this was happening. So that, that's something to take into mind. But, again, the probabilities of it really aren't that high up. And then CRSA, Keith, I saw it in the chat. We'll go over those in a second. So CRSA, the one thing that I did like about it, unfortunately now it's stuck right at this print line. It's definitely being pinned, but we had some really nice prints that came in on the 11 side as soon as the halt opened up right here. So as soon as that halt opened up, and you could see that buying came in afterwards. So really going to be looking for a more substantial pull up above that 11 level before we really look for that trigger back down. But again, the 10 levels right there, it's being pinned right now. It's definitely got a high probability of not really trading once the market opens. So it's got to, unfortunately, some of the best prints, but it's got to be put on a side list again. If I haven't made it clear yet, I'm not sold. So let's talk about Plug for a second. Plug is an everyday stock. It right now is just trading in a consolidation. Yes, it did have some prints, but you have to understand something. When you see prints like this, yes, do they look like controlling prints? They do, but Plug is just, we know what its print personality is. In order for me to get behind something in Plug, I need to see a lot of it because they do not hesitate when it comes back in. So knowing its personality, yes, are there prints there at a major level? Of course. So it's definitely something to watch. You're not wrong whatsoever, but those are not enough prints for me to get behind anything coming into here. And we're going to start to see it change a little bit as it comes into this higher price value, because the higher the price goes, typically, the more range that we're going to start to see in it. So yeah, is there a $5 move somewhere here? Absolutely. I just haven't seen the prints there yet for them. And now CCIV from yesterday had a decent bid at 18, but one thing we have to understand is they built for 2 days. So even though it looks like that was a lot of selling, it really isn't. This is where I'm going with my entire morning, guys. I've been watching everything. I've been sitting here since 8:15 in the morning, and I see everything that's going on there. And there's a reason that I didn't put this on the list, is because they've been building for 2 days. We pushed it back up. So even though those prints just came into 18, is it really just because there's some of the market makers sitting at 18, and because it came underneath, they sold off a little bit of their shares in comparison to what they got? That's how I see it. So again, those are by definition controlling pins, but are they really? It's not enough for me to really be able to get behind. And I see Mara and Riot moving as we're speaking right now. But the thing is that these are everyday stocks. I'm trying to find a new story. I want to start my morning off with a new story, as I do every single morning. These are going to be trades. I promise you, at some point today, Mara and Riot will be called out. You have 25.50 that's sitting here in Mara, and then coming up to Riot, we can see at this 26 level, we more than likely are going to see some prints, especially with the buying that just came underneath here. We're more than likely going to see something execute at that 26 right now. You have a pretty decent order there, over 20,000 shares. That's on my screen, so that means that there's even more on somebody else's screen. And then we're just act accordingly. Riot and Mara have been following the rules almost exactly over these past weeks. But remember, our morning meetings, we want to find the cliff notes. I want something brand new that shows me that this is what I'm doing today. So yes, 100%, you're not wrong whatsoever on both Plug and these two, but it's just not something that, not my perfect case scenario. Doesn't mean I won't trade them. I mean, of course, but so those ones will just follow the rules. And then DTSS looks like this was probably covering. It's something, something to look at. Anyone see the prints when it came up? So we got I see a little bit of 4 here, but obviously I was doing the meeting, couldn't see. Did anyone see what happened up towards the top side of things? Okay, beautiful. And if anyone has any questions, I will answer those in the chat. All right, other than that, guys, anything else out there that I missed? Anything else out there? WIMI, no. So the problem with WIMI is, even with yesterday, WIMI, even with yesterday, it traded so consolidated as it was coming in. More than likely, it's going to be very hard for anyone to be able to get shares. And I'm just, you know what? This entire morning, I don't have a game plan yet in most of the things that we've seen so far. I know what it could look like, but I haven't seen what it's telling us that it should and it's going to look like yet. So a stock like this, you know what? I'll find something better. I'm having a hard time getting behind a lot of what I'm seeing going on out there. Obviously, besides, Mara and Riot, which right now actually look like they're starting to trade like the market is open, but we know those are going to trade. So I have a lot of patience. I am not trying to force anything yet. And the second I see something that warrants a trade, I will make sure that I post it. All right, guys, let's get ready for our morning. Let's have our patience. We have a pretty long list, but the list has a lot of possibility rather than showing a lot needs to happen. So keep that in mind. I will talk to everybody in the chat, and happy trading.